antlers, assumptions, and artillery. I love this season, but it doesn't love me. I got caught out in a storm coming back from an early afternoon meeting, so there went a few hours of my time, sorry. I just don't get it, Salas says. Don't get what? Bjorn asks even as he puts in the settings for his training simulation. I understand that the brands are really powerful and makes it so that people have to start using weapons on you that you're usually better at. It makes sense, but why does it have to hurt so much? Salas asks. What do you mean have to hurt so much? Axiom brands hurt. There is no way around it, Bjorn says before his eyes light up in sudden understanding. Oh, right. They're not widely used. Of course you don't know. Painkillers don't work. What? It's something we tested. The nerve endings on my body don't pick up any pain, but I feel pain anyways. It's strange, but there's no reduction in pain at all, even if the place we put the brand is completely numb. It's something that's baffled people the galaxy over for tens of thousands of years. No one can figure out why Axiom brands hurt so much or how to dull the pain. That's why they're strictly voluntary. Then why the brands at all? If it was just part of the uniform to have protective tattoos, then I don't think anyone would complain. Salas presses. For some branches, they are. You get a big, complicated tattoo or the brand. There's no shame in taking the tattoo. Wait, so some parts of the Undaunted need those protections? Like what? Protection detail. He answers with a grin and Holly sucks in a breath. That's right. All dedicated bodyguards need to have either a protective tattoo or brand, so that you can always have your armor on to protect your client, Holly says. That's right. I'll see if I can scare up someone that went with the tattoo route instead. But surprisingly, or perhaps not so surprisingly, most Undaunted are the kind of crazy where we prefer the insanely painful brands and over the tattoo that's outright cuddly by comparison, Bjorn says. It still seems barbaric, Salas says, and Bjorn shrugs. A lot of things are at the deepest levels. Militaries tend to be less shy about them, he says casually, as the scenario inside the simulator finally finishes. Anyways, as you girls have seen, most of my time on duty is me either updating my equipment, pushing my training so instead of getting rusty, I get stronger in whatever little logistical bits I need to do. And what is this? Combat sim to make sure the brand has completely taken in and there's no unexpected side effect. The safeties will progressively be turned off further and further as I go, but they're limited to things the brand protects from. Interesting, so no one come in, but the view window will show me up close anyways, Bjorn says with a grin before cracking his neck. Besides, hitting things always helps with getting a brand. Just hitting things? You're not going to use a weapon? Nope, bare-knuckling this one, Bjorn replies as he considers and then takes off the jacket. He had gotten some bandages around the painful burn. He didn't want to aggravate it unnecessarily, but he needed to be sure it worked. The door opens and he steps in after blowing the girls a kiss and walks into the simulation room. It powers up around him and at first is crude 3D shapes, and then it iterates so fast it flows like water into a cityscape. The buildings have strange rounded shapes and a tan-colored material that has Bjorn clearly considering things. Hey girls, can you double-check the settings? I think someone's trying to be funny. Lils is closest to the console and she quickly taps a few keys. It says Tau invasion scenario, she calls out. Is it accompanied by a two-headed bird symbol? Bjorn calls back. Yes, one of them has no eyes. Of course. Girls, the settings have been messed with. Again, Bjorn says with a sigh. Wouldn't that get someone hurt? Holly asks. No, it's a cosmetic setting. It doesn't actually change things beyond how they look and sound. Bjorn answers as a gigantic suit of power armor drops down out of the sky and levels a pair of shoulder cannons right at his face. Goddamn Warhammer freaks. Surrender, Gwila! The suite bellows at him and Bjorn rolls his eyes. Then he hits it in the knees in an eye blink and his hands start ripping apart the mechanisms. Plasma flies through the air, but the brand is not put to the test as he straight up dodges the point-blank shots. The battle armor is down and he grabs it by the hand to throw it like a hammer into the nearest building, then following it in before the dust can settle. There is a rending noise, many screams and plumes of plasma. Then he emerges from the open doorway with one of the two shoulder cannons held in his hands. It's enormous and clearly weighs more than he does, but he balances the weapon lightly in his hands. Guronsha! It is Guronsha! A voice screams out, and he suddenly rips at the stolen cannon, and it divulges a short-lived but otherwise large plume of plasma, revealing numerous cloaked figures that scream as they burn and die. So we're doing a versus Tau scenario, because why the hell not? Bjorn asked, leaning the spent cannon against his unbranded shoulder and waiting for a few moments, which is all the time it needs for a massive suit of armor and numerous different drones to drop down from above. The broken cannon is hurled through several drones, knocking them out of the air like baseballs, and crashes into the battlesuit to stagger it. Then Bjorn crashes into it next, and he starts ripping the chest armor like tissue paper. Fast forms leap out from the alleyways between the buildings to grab onto Bjorn's back, and he shrugs off the savage, beaked things that stand upright before he finishes breaching the armor and rips out a screaming, blue-faced alien with only slits in place of a nose. He then takes control of the machine itself and blasts off with it as hard as he can. Bursts of plasma from an oncoming armada of battlesuits, backed up by what looks to be a series of gunships, rain onto his stolen suit and compromise it in seconds. He doesn't bother piloting it and instead launches himself out and onto the nearest ship. The almost elegant-looking vehicle staggers as he lands on the wing and starts racing up it. Guronsha on the wing! We have the Guronsha on the wing! One of the pilots screams out as Bjorn reaches the side of the cockpit and digs his fingers into the metal. That's when a volley of plasma shots launch through the hull and sizzle against his chest. He then headbutts through the side with a deep laugh, and the simulated Tau inside scream in terror. The frail aliens are torn out of their seats and tossed out of the hole he just made as he starts pressing buttons and pulling on controls to get a feel for the ship he just hijacked. A ship that then gets absolutely bombarded with entire walls of plasma fire. It causes the vessel to dissolve around him, and he's sent tumbling through the air before he stabilizes his fall and directs it. He crashes through the top of a building, and then everything seems to pause. There is a massive series of thumps as numerous battlesuits land all around the building and level their weapons at it as the remaining 3 ships hold position overhead with guns at the ready. There is a pause, and then one of the walls explodes outwards to be filled with plasma fire before another and another do the same. And while the walls detonate towards the suits, nothing emerges from it. There is no sign of Bjorn and no hint of his presence. The suits shift as if debating when suddenly there is a 4th detonation, and for a bare moment they hesitate, which lets Bjorn crash into the battlesuit lines like a runaway wrecking ball. 2 suits crash into each other, and he scrambles around one before feeling out the power lines at the back before forming a knife hand and then impaling its power core. It promptly begins venting plasma right into his face, and he drops down, unconcerned by the extreme heat. The other suits are already bombarding him as he walks through the sheer weight of weapons fire without concern. Then one of them suddenly has a sword it brings down, even as Bjorn is hosed down with sheer plasma. He steps to the side and then blurs forward to break the hand holding the blade before grabbing it himself. Under the sustained plasma fire, he can't swing it more than once before it's destroyed in his grip, but it's more than enough to carve through the battlesuit and pilot inside. Hey, stop simulation! Bjorn calls out and everything freezes. I appreciate that this is a test of things, but really, they would have used something other than plasma at this point, come on. Sorry, we're still working on this scenario, but your brand's holding up well, right? No funny twinges? Strange feelings? A male voice calls down from above. Just the itch of the healing skin and bandage? Bjorn answers. All right, you played with the squishy Xeno scum as is. You're free to go. Dude, the majority of the Undaunted are not human. So? I'm not human. Doesn't mean I can't have fun with that setting. Now follow my example, or I will make you one. The person monitoring the simulation calls back in Bjorn's size. Call me Kommissar Gitsmasha, for da Emperor. Oh my God, Bjorn explains with a laugh. You mean for da Emperor ya git, Kommissar Gitsmasha corrects, and Bjorn laughs even harder. You fucking nerd, Bjorn accuses him. And proud of it, Humi, you did good. Get some teeth to the brew boy and celebrate, Gitsmasha tells him. Can you drop the Orc accent, please? Never, Humi. Oh, brother, Bjorn mutters even as he leaves the sim. It was a nice warm-up at any rate. I feel much better. So, what's all this madness a reference to? Holly asks as she passes Bjorn back his jacket. A setting where mutual coexistence has been provably impossible, longer than humanity existed in it. I can only give you broad strokes. The things I was fighting is one of the youngest species called the Tau. They're masters of plasma, but have certain fundamental truths of the setting straight up wrong, and will get themselves and anyone under their command killed trying to reason with an inherently unreasonable force that can and will corrupt everything they can. And what were they calling you? Something in their made-up language. I think they were referring to me as a space marine, a heavily augmented human that is more or less a living weapon and also a warrior monk, he says. And the Watcher? I think in setting, the Orcs are an out-of-control bioweapon whose creators are extinct. A sort of fungal mammal hybrid that lives to fight and kill and only gets stronger with age. Not smart, but cunning and very, very dangerous, he says before shrugging. I only vaguely pay attention to it. Some of the guys love it to death, and I was always more of the enabler type. If they wanted to do something funny and I needed to wear a helmet with a strange star made of arrows pointing outwards to be in on it, then I put on the stupid cardboard helmet and I had some fun. You know a lot about something you don't really care for, Irma points out. I'm just repeating what I was told about it. It's not something I really think about until it's in my face, Bjorn says. We'll convert you into a wargamer yet. Just you wait. The voice of Komasa Gitsmasha says, and everyone turns to see a dark green Horchka man walk up in an undaunted uniform with a big tusky smile and a friendly wave. So you're the girls that have been pinning down this nutcase? Good luck. We don't need luck, we've got looks. Vera preens, stretching backwards to accentuate her figure, and Gitsmasha, or Corporal Bladeborn according to his name tag, scoffs. You do, but I prefer not needing a lint roller. Corporal Bladeborn scoffs. Actually, I haven't caught any of these girls shedding. Bjorn remarks. Just wait until they get really comfortable with you. You'll start to find hair everywhere. That sounded personal. My mother is a Lirak. Believe me, they shed, and it was what drove me insane about her. Fucking fur in my everything. I smelled my mom wherever I went.